What's up, everybody? We are here with Miles Cheong, one of the just stalwart guys who's been out there calling out the left for what they're doing over the last 10 years. Been happy to be friends with him for a long, long time. And I've been watching your account just go crazy on X as you've gotten a lot of attention from Elon Musk and the like, just from telling the truth. It's very refreshing to see that X has been really nice over the last couple of years, unlike what we're about to show on places like Blue Sky and the like, where it's become just a festering cesspool that we expected.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a garbage dump. Look at Reddit. It used to be a nice place. I used to post on Reddit, not anymore because they banned me. and I mean, that seems to be like the nature of the internet, right? For the longest time, you could not say anything that was critical of the left. You could not talk about transgenderism. You could not say there's only two sexes. They'll ban you for it. But thanks to Elon, the internet's a lot more freer now. Conservatives do have a voice, and the people in the center, which is like the vast majority of people, I would say lean right these days because the left has gone so far left.
I was talking to somebody in the board game industry this morning, and he's one of those quiet, sort of centrist Republicans who's like, I try to not say anything, but this is really pushing me, this Charlie Kirk situation, toward the
You
right.
should say something.
And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to. But I feel like people are sick of it, right? I mean, are you getting that vibe?
Because yeah, it's so easy for people to just sit back and hope that everything just resolves itself, that it becomes normal, because people are so used to normality, right? They are unused to new and difficult situations. They don't want to leave their safe space, and that is true for like the vast majority of people who are rather outside of politics, and even a few people who are in politics. They think it's always business as usual, but nothing is business as usual. We are living in a world where the left literally murdered a man. They murdered Charlie Kirk in cold blood, and then they celebrated it. They mocked his wife. They said that they would do the same thing to his children, and
Terrible.
and we're expected to just treat this as business as usual. I mean, it's insane. It's I'm at a loss of words when I try to describe these people, and the reaction to it has been somewhat muted. On in some quarters, they're saying that we're going too far by holding them accountable, that getting them fired from their jobs as doctors or nurses is too far. It's like, excuse me, but if you want me dead because of my politics, you have no business in healthcare. You should be gone. You should be in jail at this point.
Absolutely, and I really want to be focused on putting a stop to it, and we're trying to hold that feet to the flames in culture. I found this a telling change in culture that even after Trump got shot, you never saw Microsoft making a statement, right?
No, right.
But this really shows how things have shifted, like, amazingly. This Microsoft here says, we're aware of the views expressed by a small subset of our employees in recent events. We take matters like this very seriously, and we are currently reviewing each individual situation. Comments celebrating violence against anyone are unacceptable and do not align with our values. I was shocked to see this company say this. This Seattle-based extreme leftist company. We've seen it with Xbox, and actually we saw their subsidiary Bethesda just get just run off the internet yesterday with what they did.
Have they identified the guy who posted it yet? I know he was mocking Charlie Kirk's death by posting a video that's taken out of context with Indiana Jones, I believe. And it shows a cat, right? Like, it's like, oh, you're a cute cat, you don't care about fascists. Essentially saying that he doesn't care about Charlie Kirk dying because for them, fascist is just shorthand for Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely, it's crazy. No, they haven't identified. They haven't made an official statement on that, even as of now. We're speculating that it's one of their community managers who's been known to say stuff like this before.
We can't let them forget this. I mean, that's how they deal with these situations, right? And usually it works where you just ignore the community for a while and then it dies down. People forget. They move on to the next thing. People suggest it. Like, I saw a lot of quote unquote centrist types saying that Charlie Kirk's death was negligible. It wasn't important, that people would stop mourning him after a couple of days, and that we just move on to the next thing. And these are the same people who say nothing ever happens, right? They're blackpilling. Right. They're either doing that on purpose to try to stifle the right, or they genuinely believe that the right will not do anything about it. But I'm sorry to report it to them, but what they've known as the right is dead. Liberalism's dead. It's over. Like, change is coming. It's already here. Accountability is here. It's coming. And a lot of these guys are, who are complaining about how they're getting fired for their, for their opinions. Not being fired for their opinions. They're being fired because they're celebrating a murder. That should not be allowed in civilization. They're going to realize that this is the moderate response. The next response is something that they will not like. And so if they're smart, they will stop it right now instead of ramping it up and taunting us, taunting the right, and gloating over the murder because they think they won. They genuinely believe that they've won. But, I got to say, if the police, if the FBI don't do a good job catching these people and stomping it out, people are going to do it themselves. And that's going to be very, very ugly.
I've noticed, you've posted that liberalism is dead as well. And a lot of people on the right don't realize, but the right actually is the more liberal sort of philosophy because we're very much have free speech, live and let live. And and them preying off of that is really what led it to this point. You have to be tolerant of my homosexual marriage. Okay, we're tolerant of that.
Sure,
okay,
whatever.
we want to be in your bathroom. I'm a man, and I want to be in the woman's bathroom because I'm a woman. Okay, we're tolerant of that. And it just keeps pushing further and further and further because they definitely are preying on our sensibilities that we just want to kind of live and let live as the right. And I think you're right. It's changing.
It's never worked.
It's never worked.
It's never worked because it's fragile. It's too easy to subvert, right? I was having a conversation with a really smart guy, and we just sort of arrived at the same conclusion here. Liberalism doesn't work. Like it works in a very homogenous society where, and I don't just mean like racially homogenous, although that does factor in, but a homogenous society that is culturally similar, where the left and the right are just not too different from one another, where the left and the right, maybe they have a slight difference in opinion about, say, socialized healthcare. Maybe like that's the only difference, but everything else they just sort of agree upon, right? That used to be what America was. That was what Europe was, like Sweden, the UK, and so on. But now the left and the right are so divergent, where the left is literally celebrating a murder and the right is saying, don't murder us, or the right is, the right really hasn't moved very, very far. If anything, it's the left that has gone so far to the left that it's so divergent that liberalism just doesn't work in a situation like this. It's a reason why I don't advocate for democracy. I think that giving everyone the right to vote was a mistake. The founding fathers would have called it a mistake because they did not give everyone the right to vote, not just like women. It was like all men could not vote. You had to be a property owner. You had to have a stake in society. You had to be a contributor, an employer, right? And they gave it to everyone, and guess what? People are very easy to manipulate, especially when they're either uneducated or poor. They're going to vote for their own interests. A poor person is going to vote for free money, free housing, free this, free that. That doesn't work, right? In the 1960s, when Richard Nixon, 70s, when Nixon was pushing all of these initiatives, it didn't work. It backfired, literally backfired, right? That was Lyndon Johnson who started it, and they all had good ideas, good intentions, but that all turned into wastage. And Ronald Reagan, realizing what was going on, decided to cut it all off. But it's only gotten worse since then, right? Because like even Bill Clinton tried to privatize it, and good for him for trying it. But again, all this stuff has just led to, the political far left, not just liberals, like actual far left, abusing these systems, subverting them towards their own interests. Because what do they do with that government money is they fund themselves for their own agenda. They want to, create a communist utopia. And that's why liberalism is a failed experiment. It's very nice on paper, and it works if you have everybody on board. But the more freedoms you give to people, eventually someone's going to exploit that freedom and do something bad with it. I hate to say it, but like giving people too much freedom just kind of doesn't work. You have to have a limit of what people can do. I mean, look, I live in Dubai, and is there a democracy here? No. Do I like it the way it is? Hell yes. It's safe, and I'm free to run my business. I don't get taxed. I mean, what more can I ask for? I mean, that's what everybody wants. At the end of the day, you just want to live your life, not have to pay taxes, and live safely, freely, relatively, right? Just stop fucking around, right? Like, why do you need communism? It's insane.
But absolutely. My wife and I have a house in El Salvador also, so we roll down there about twice a year. And I've watched as Nayib Bukele has changed that place. And of course, the American liberal left establishment, New York Times, keeps going, oh, he's a terrible person, etc. But I can walk down in the middle of their major city, San Salvador, with a couple million people who are there.
Usually the most dangerous city in the world.
In the middle of the night, and with my baby, just and there's no
Yeah.
problem, right? And I
No.
know there's going to be no problem. I can't say the
Mhm.
same for San Francisco here.
No. Yeah, you can't. Yeah. I mean, I've been to San Francisco a bunch of times, and people say, "Oh, you've never set foot in America." Yeah, I have. I've seen how bad it got before it
Yeah,
got bad and after it got bad. It's like it wasn't always like this. Like leftism wasn't permitted. Like I don't know, 10 years ago, if people I know on the left, like my friends, former friends, they're not friends anymore, obviously. They used to be appalled by this kind of conversation, celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. 10 years ago, they would have said, "Wow, that is so bad. Let's not do this. Like let's stop this. He was a human being. Maybe you disagreed with his opinions, but he was a good person. He was religious. He loved his family. Like that would have been the left's response." Now, those sorts of responses are so few and far in between that we're highlighting them. When Cenk Uyghur, who's a leftist, comes out and he denounces the violence, we're like, wow, he said that. It's like that should be normal. I
that
mean,
shouldn't be
yeah,
a shock. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we should praise him for saying that. But my God, like how far has America or the West fallen, where people are literally celebrating murder right now, not just in America, but in the UK, in Germany. That's really bad in Germany, and the leftists in Australia. Like they're just so vitriolic. They have too much freedom at this point. They're just like, calling for more violence because they know they can get away with it, and they'll only get a slap on the wrist. At least that's what they think for now.
I've tried to focus hard on culture, like, science fiction, comic books, gaming, and the like. And I've noticed that it's very difficult to get the right to pay attention to that. And if you look at some of the worst statements that are out there, I mean, you can see we've got a guy from Warhammer 40K published, Cerberus XT right here's an influencer. Don't disrespect Kirk by caring about his death. Like disgusting, right? You have the
Wow.
guy Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager. Charlie Kirk and his fellow MAGA Republican mouthpieces who have no problem with guns killing children in our schools almost every effing week. So to hell with all of them. And of
Wow.
course, there's the very famous transgender dude from DC Comics who actually did get fired
He
over
got
his
fired,
statements.
right?
But he's actually out giving statements now, doubling down on this.
Oh, he's gonna get a job
And
elsewhere,
it's
right?
crazy, of course.
Like IDW or something is just gonna pick him up, and they're just gonna have him like destroy
On
more
Blue Sky, they're
comics.
rallying for him and saying subscribe to his Patreon, and
So
and Patreon supports
yeah,
us. Yeah. So I think a part of the problem is, and I've noticed it, like when you try to like stick on culture on the right, it's like
Mhm.
beating your head against a brick wall. Yeah, they might care about this guy in this one instance. It might go viral sometimes, but for the
Sure.
most part, like the right just like doesn't get behind culture. And I feel like when these guys are all pushing this, because they push this in their comic books and movies and games and the like as
Yeah,
well,
it's endless.
for decades, and then it
I remember
radicalizes the
reading.
next generation.
I remember
Like,
reading
how do we
like one
fix
of
it?
those recent X-Men comics where there's like a couple of Antifa X-Men, right? They show up at
Right.
a place and they start killing. Well, I guess they abduct like a stand-in for Tommy Lauren or Ann Coulter, right? And they
Right.
kill her or something, and like we're supposed to cheer that on. Like that's a good thing. Like they kill her at a speech, like one of those college things that they were doing like 2016, 2017. That was a thing. It didn't even get any outrage. It was just like
No.
us, right? Like the Gamergate people who cared about it, but no one else did. Everyone's like, whatever. It's a
How,
comic book.
how do we push the right into actually caring? Do you have a strategy for this at all? Have you thought about it?
I mean, I think we need larger platforms. Having X is obviously a good thing, but I think we need to start creating things. I think we need to start using AI. AI is a big thing. We need to start producing our own content. That's been missing from the right. And fortunately, a lot of people in AI, they think just like I do, like you and I do. I've had a lot of conversations about Charlie Kirk with people who are really big in AI, and they're kind of on board with what we're saying. Like they saw Charlie Kirk dying, and they're like, "Holy shit, the left is evil." Like that was the takeaway.
Right.
The left is fucking evil, right? And so they know what needs to be done, and I think there's an alignment to be had here, right? Where creators, like there's a lot of really good conservative creators who just aren't getting, like the visibility that they need, and it's largely because nobody wants to fund them because like all the companies are run by leftists. But now we kind of don't need that much funding anyway. We could just do it ourselves. Like we need to start vibe coding. We need to start using AI integrated into all of our work because why the fuck not? These tools are
Absolutely.
at our fingertips. Let's do it. Let's create something. Let's create more platforms, more voices, more publications to bring attention to this and actually make it good. Don't make it shitty. Like when they made Conan the Barbarian, that was a right-wing movie. It was a right-wing book, even right. Like the Howard, he was a conservative, Most of these guys are, right? Red Dawn.
Almost everybody in the golden age of our culture was a
Yep.
conservative. Even in Hollywood, they were so based they were
Clint Eastwood.
blacklisting communists, right? And
Yeah.
so that switched in 50 years. And I agree with you. I think the new technology lowers the barrier to entry so that we can do it again.
Yep.
So that's a nice white pill for the future.
And here's the thing: there's a reason, and this is a vape. This is a vape. It's terrible, but there is a reason why the left despises AI, because they're all artists, they're all writers. They kind of realize that they now have competition. The right could use all of these tools to outdo them, right? They're like, oh
Right.
shit, that's why they're so against AI. The right just needs to fucking embrace it. Like I see a lot of people, like some people on the right are obviously doing it, but most aren't. Most are just sort of ignoring it, or they're being like Luddites about it. They're like, oh, technology's bad. It's like, guys, you have no idea. Like a lot of the people with funding, with money, like a shit ton of money in crypto, in AI, they're all conservatives.
Right.
They're all conservatives, and we know what needs to be done. You guys just need to get on board. Like stop.
I've been
shitting
putting
on us.
out books under a pen name that are AI written.
Nice.
And what I can do is I take my ideas and I can get a book out 10 to 20 times faster. And I'm doing it under a pen name, one, so that I don't use my influencer status to actually mess with the experiment. I'm just seeing if it sells and if people like the output and if people can tell whether it's AI or not. And no, they can't. Is what it comes down to. It's really solid. You have to put in the human work to edit it and really understand your prompts and the like. But it's really good. And I'm excited. What I'm thrilled about the prospect for is movies at some point, because if we can capture movies, I really think we can win. So
I think what we need to do is start buying GPUs. Buy a bunch of GPUs, a bunch of 5090s, or get AMD's new system, which I think costs like $2,000. Has as much compute as a 5090. Start getting those. Build a farm. Whether it's like 10 computers or 50, it doesn't really matter. Start making stuff, like producing things. Do it offline. Don't like rely on like these online-based things which have a lot of censorship. Do it offline. Run something like Sentient, which is like a compilation of all these different programs, these different models. Use something like that. Empower it. Like you are empowered by the ability to create things. If you can create things really fast, which is to like generate clips, like I don't know, 10-second clips within a minute, that's easy. You can like literally within a day you could produce a short film.
Right.
Start doing
interesting stuff. Yeah, that's good advice for the future, guys. And thank you for being here and talking about this. And I think that's a white pill. I think we do have a chance to really remake the culture, and that's what we need to do to get this festering evil out. Is really what it comes down to. You have to have something to replace it with.
You got to open up Alcatraz, expand it, and send all of them there. Like that's the only way.
Based. All right, Ian Miles Cheong is on X as Still Gray, and you said you're going to start streaming on Kick pretty shortly here. Not Twitch, because Twitch is an evil corporation, but Kick.
Twitch is fucking evil, and they will ban you for hate speech. And I just want to touch on the topic of hate speech because it's really funny, right? Not funny, but interesting. Pam Bondi used the term hate speech yesterday when she said that she's going to crack down on it. But a lot of people lost their minds over it. They're like, "Oh my god!" They thought that she meant it in the same way that the left means hate speech. When they talk about hate speech, you're just saying criticism of trans people is hate speech, right? Talking about statistics, racial statistics. 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of violent crime in America. That's hate speech, right? According to them. She's not talking about that. She's talking about leftist hate speech. And why don't we? I was just thinking, why don't we redefine what hate speech actually means? Why doesn't hate speech literally refer to, political violence, like threats, calling somebody a fascist in the hopes that that somebody else comes along and kills them? That is hate speech. That is hateful speech. Let's embrace it. Let's reframe the damn thing. People need to stop attacking our own side. I see that happen way too much, where people take a swing at Pam Bondi or Kash Patel because their speech is imperfect, and I've taken a few swings myself, so I'm not innocent of this, but. Let's show them more grace. They're on our side. They're trying to do the right thing. And maybe it's not enough. And maybe we can just keep, pushing them harder. Yes. But let's stop playing by the left's dynamics, by their angle. Because if the left calls something hate speech, why do we have to accept their definition of what hate speech actually means? Why don't we have our own definition? And why don't we use that, weaponize it, crack down against the left? What's the left going to do? Cry about it?
I love that idea, and weaponizing words and changing the meaning of words that's what they've pushed the culture with so far. I mean, but if you look at it, if you look at the word just woke, That was a
Yep.
positive leftist term. They were going around. There were rap songs being like, "I'm woke, yeah," and like they're proud of it. And we turned it into something that you don't want to be associated with that word.
Epithet,
And we
right?
could do the same here. I like that idea a lot. All right, thanks for being
Absolutely.
here, Ian. And
For
I
sure.
appreciate you and your time, guys. Follow him on X and stay up to date on all the news that's happening here with Charlie Kirk and more. I know you're covering the Luigi trial right now, which
Yep.
is shocking. Some of the results there. We don't need to get into that, but you can check his X feed for that. And we'll be back. Thanks, guys.